Often at times, kids run away without us knowing why. Sometimes we blame the child and we actually make them feel worse than they were before. Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about running away from home. So, I'm all cozied up. I will be reading a section from my book today, Hush to Roar. And do you really want to know a little bit why children might run away? Don't go anywhere. Hi guys, I'm Toyin Okanuga. I am your inspirational mindset expert on adverse childhood experiences. Now, today is the beginning of the month, and every beginning of the month, I will be doing a free flow where I read from my book and just give you a little bit of commentary around it and anything that we can learn from my book. So you might think, expert, what qualifies you to call yourself an expert? A little bit about myself. So at the age of 8, I got drastically taken away from my foster parents. I was taken to Nigeria. I had been with my foster parents from the age of 2 months old until I turned 8. So it was very abrupt, and there's nothing wrong going to your motherland, but it was sudden for me and it was very traumatic. We went to Nigeria and then my life turned for the worse. I experienced so many other traumatic events in my life, including sexual abuse. I experienced sexual abuse from the age of 12 until I turned 15 from a very close family member. In Hush to Roar, I actually say who sexually abused me, and I explain how I interviewed the perpetrator to know a little bit about their childhood. But I won't give it away right now, and I have forgiven the person. But if you really want to know a lot about that and how we can heal from the most horrific events, grab your copy. So yes, today it's free flow. I will read an aspect from my book and just explain why. Running away. Why? So this is chapter 11 and it's called The Rage Buddy, my memoir. Listen up, guys. The next day was Saturday. I woke up early around 5 a.m. I'd packed a few of my clothes the night before. I went to have a quick shower and was mindful not to wake anyone up, particularly my father. Once I'd finished and had got dressed, I picked up my packed bag and a few books and tiptoed downstairs. I walked slowly and cautiously to the gate and carefully slid the side door open. As soon as I was outside, my pace increased. I ran as fast as I could to the back end of our house so that I didn't risk the chance of anyone seeing me through the windows upstairs. It was around 6 a.m. and I wanted to be out of the area while it was still dark. I got on a bus and headed straight to my stepdad's and my siblings' house. I arrived there around 7:45 a.m. I rang the doorbell non-stop until I could hear the voice of Auntie Bola, my stepdad's relative, shouting, "Taniye, who is that?" She looked through the peephole on the door and said, Basira, she woniye. Basira, is that you? Everyone on my stepdad's side still called me Basirat. I said, yes, please open the door. Once I was in, I didn't wait for Auntie Bola to ask me why I was there so early. I shouted, I'm never going back there. She was confused and asked me to sit down. I explained to her about the incident with Akeem and how my dad had slapped me. She was shocked. She laughed angrily and pointed at me, saying, "You're joking. Your dad slapped you." She knew I was generally well behaved and couldn't understand why anyone would slap me. I'd never got beaten before. I very rarely got told off when I was with my stepdad, mom, and siblings. Our mom had travelled back to the UK early that year, in 1989, and wasn't planning to return. She wrote to us all regularly and sent my siblings and I a lot of clothing, money, and other lovely, unique items that were too expensive or difficult to get hold of in Nigeria. She and my stepdad had separated. I often blamed myself for their separation, but like any separation, there were a lot of contributing factors to it. Their separation was no different. My stepdad had gone to his hometown to visit his sister, while my siblings were on holiday with relatives. Auntie Bola was looking after the house until they all returned. They were going to be away for the next 2 weeks. I explained to her that I never wanted to go back home and asked if I could stay with them all. She looked at me and wasn't sure how to answer. I think she also thought it wasn't her place to say yes or no. She knew it must have been serious for me to have run away from home and said, sure, you know you're always welcome. I settled down and we had a long discussion about everything that had been going on at home since the start of the summer holidays. After a week, my aunt sat me down and said I should reconsider going back home. She told me that my dad and everyone else would be worried about my whereabouts. I attempted to tell her the real reason I was furious with my father and why I hated him so much, but I just couldn't. I made several attempts to tell her throughout the 1.5 weeks that I was with her, but I couldn't find the words. I felt drowned in a hushed state. I'd been at my stepdad and siblings' house for a 1.5 weeks when Auntie Bola convinced me to go back home. She said she'd take me back. I thought about it, and since most of my things were still at home, especially my passport, it made sense to go. We went the next day. On the way home, I was getting a little scared. I also felt that I should have told Auntie Bola the real reason, but I said nothing. We arrived home and all my siblings shouted out my name. They were so pleased to see me. They got emotional. My dad came out. Before he could say anything, Auntie Bola knelt, pulling me down to kneel with her. She apologised to my dad on my behalf and said I wouldn't run away again. So you can see that I ran away from home. I actually ran away from home twice. I only mentioned once in the book. And it was because I was going through the most horrendous time in my life. I just couldn't hack it anymore. I just needed to go anywhere. So my message today is just this. As a parent now, I don't take things for granted. I don't assume. I try not to assume that the behaviour of my kids is out of character, is just unreasonable. I try to delve deeper just to see if I can get to a level where there's an understanding and we can talk about things. So if you're out there and you've got children or people in your care that you know their character is somehow not how you think it should be, or it's out of character what they're doing, you could be right. And I would say something more sinister could be happening to them, and that's the reason why they've run away. Because in my case, it was because something terrible was happening to me. That's why I ran away. And it was just so fortunate that I had the wisdom to go to someone who cared for me. If I'd run away to someone who could hurt me, then it would be very disastrous. So guys, that's just my little tip today to say, let's not jump to conclusion. Let's just try and be intentional and find out why people don't want to go places. It could be an auntie's house, an uncle's house, or maybe they don't want to go play football. We don't know what's going on there. Let's not force them out of the rushed life that we live in. Let's just delve deeper and find out the real reason why they don't want to go where they want to go to. We could be saving them from things that are more disastrous than you can imagine. So guys, thank you for joining me today in my cozy state of my reading story time at the beginning of every month. As usual, I release videos Tuesdays and Fridays. Please subscribe to Hush to Raw. Press that subscribe button, also the notification, so you never miss a video. And yes, I will continue to release videos, and I hope you can join me on this journey, continually be with me on this journey, where we discuss all these important issues that affect us all. And yes, there are free ebooks at the bottom. Grab your own. If you really want to know the full shebang of this story, grab your copy from Hush to Raw, www.hushtораw.com, or from Amazon, where you will know everything about me and my healing journey, and it will be healing for you too. Thank you guys, and remember, your inner child has a voice. Don't suppress it, let it roar. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.